Obviously, that's not the expectation. But what America did post 9/11 is so insanely fucked up, both internationally on a global spectrum, but also domestically with the Patriot Act, with the Department of Homeland Security, with ICE, and all these other, like, spring 9/11.
This is an NBC News special report.
Bro, why are they acting like it happened today? What the fuck?
Here's Savannah Guthrie.
Good morning. We come on the air as the nation marks 22 years since the terror attacks of September 11th. Events are being held across the country today to honor and remember the nearly 3,000 people who died here in New York, at the Pentagon in Washington, and near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The commemoration ceremony in Lower Manhattan is getting underway at this hour. The names of the fallen being read aloud, along with moments of silence to mark the times each tower was struck here in New York City. NBC's Rahema Ellis is there for us in Lower Manhattan, hallowed ground this morning. Rahema, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Thousands are gathering here at what's been known as Ground Zero to remember those lives lost. Just 22 years ago on September 11th.
It's so fucking loud outside. I'm losing my mind.
You can see One World Trade Tower. This is where it sits in the footprint of what was the Twin Towers. And people will never forget, they say, what happened that day. And now they are here to remember it. Dignitaries included in the events, the mayor, the governor, including the former mayor, Rudy Giuliani, who became known as America's mayor as a result of it.
Yeah. 9/11 really fucking helped Rudy Giuliani's career. New York really said they hit 2 targets. Let's rebuild so there's only 1 target. Yeah, well, less chances, you know what I mean? If you have 2 targets, you could like fuck up and still hit. If you turn it into 1 target, then all of a sudden it's like, I guess, harder. Like it's just less of a hitbox. That's what's smart about it.
And you will hear all of those names read to remember them by their loved ones and family members just a short time from now. Savannah?
Rahema, thank you very much. This moment seared in our collective memory. Where were you 22 years ago? Here's the moment of silence.
They're showing the moment of silence? Bro, I'm sorry. Listen. They're trying to make it happen. They're trying to make 9/11 happen. It's not happening. It's been 22 years. Like, people, like so many people who have consciousness now were not alive when it happened. There's just not going to be, it's just not going to fucking, like, no one's going to take it seriously. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, so many people were not alive in the minds of the American public. Let me explain something to you. Okay? Lol, man, trying to get banned again, I kid. No, I mean, it was a devastating attack, okay? Make no mistake. I think everyone understands that, right? Even if you weren't there, even if you were not alive, like, you get it. But what I'm trying to explain here is that like 9/11 and its impact in American consciousness was incredibly intense, okay? It completely changed the game for a lot of Americans. Like, and we're going to talk about that today. I once wrote an article on Huffington Post. This is not an edgelord take at all. Please, you're misunderstanding. You're missing the forest for the trees, okay? You're hyper-focusing on, like, what you think I'm saying here and making an edgelordy take, and you're failing to comprehend the bigger picture, okay? So I wrote an article about 9/11 on Huffington Post years ago, okay? 9/11 was awful. What we did after was worse, okay? This was many years ago. This was many years before I said America deserved 9/11 and got fucking ass clapped over it and raked over the coals, okay? Here's the article. I usually run this every year. This is from 2017. So what I mean is, don't believe me, about 9/11 and like America's reception to it, then just look at Army recruitment, military recruitment numbers. The military openly says that because of especially COVID too, because the recruiters were not allowed to go to schools during COVID, and because we are 22 years removed from 9/11, that like their recruitment numbers are fucking abysmal. Okay? They're abysmal. Because 9/11 had a major impact on the American consciousness. Military numbers went fucking crazy. That's why I've said in the past that like they need another 9/11 style event if they want to keep boosting their numbers. But the military is on the record on NPR complaining about how 9/11 was a major boost to their numbers and their recruitment, and 22 years later, nobody gives a shit. Okay? Nobody gives a shit. So now I feel like caring this much about 9/11 22 years after the fact, it comes across as like kind of fake. You know what I mean? It just comes across as kind of fake. Like, oh, remember we were scarred that day. Like, and it's more so, it's no longer about like the people that died on that day and remembering the people that died on that day, and about the scar that this nation, this great beautiful nation, took. And now that like we've done way more awful shit since 9/11 for the past 22 fucking years, you know, we've done like 9/11 times 100 all around the fucking world. It just comes, and many of those things have been like overt failures. It always feels like people are just, you know, they're pulling this to aesthetically be like, no, you have to care about this. You have to care about this. You have to get very sad about this on this day. Remember what happened. Like it was a tragedy. Like it was a tragedy. But that's just not how human beings operate, in my opinion. Like, no matter how tragic, we have the capacity to adapt and overcome. And I feel like at this stage, many have they've moved past it. They've moved beyond it. We're going to talk about Madison Cawthorn's take in a second. U.S. didn't even invade the country that actually did 9/11. Yes, the U.S. never did anything to the country that actually facilitated 9/11. The United States actually still kept being an ally to the country that did 9/11 and facilitated 9/11. And not only that, but the United States also added a country that was against the country that did 9/11, that was a formative ally. A formative ally. Iran. The United States did not give a shit about Saudi Arabia's contributions to 9/11 and turn around and put Iran, Saudi Arabia's enemy and our partner in the global war on terror, in many respects, in the axis of evil. Like, that should show you how little anybody gave a shit about. Okay? Like, the actual facts of the matter. Also, yeah, the 9/11 political cartoons is sick. Wait, this is not the thread I was looking for. There's another thread. I reposted it. It was a very good thread. Isn't it funny that after 9/11, America invaded Muslim nations that had nothing to do with 9/11? Yes. Here, hold on. It's not even, let me tell you something. I'm all over the place right now with this, but it's not even that, like America just destroyed the planet after 9/11 or accelerated its destruction of the planet after 9/11. It destroyed itself after 9/11 as well. Okay? And times were very weird and very rough and very odd. What? You have to see the notification CNN just pinged? Okay. I don't care about that. All right. So let's get into it. Let's watch this moment of silence real quick.
Right, quick, march.
Silence followed by the sounds of bagpipes in lower Manhattan, the first of many moments of silence today to honor and remember those who fell 22 years ago on 9/11. We'll have much more on today's tributes on NBC News Now, also over on MSNBC. For now, we return most of you to the Today Show. For others, your regularly scheduled program. I'm Savannah Guthrie. This has been an NBC News special.
Yeah, America was never silent. Bagpipes are a fun touch for like a 9/11 memorial. 9/11, 2001, as it happened. The following program is made from news footage and amateur video broadcasts or recorded on September 11th, 2001. It contains scenes and language that may disturb some viewers, okay?
That?
Sound like a plane crash.
Hey, Beth. What is that? Somebody hit the World Trade Center or the...
It's a trade center.
The World Trade Center.
Number 2.
Yeah. This just in, you were looking at
we have a breaking news
very
story to tell you
disturbing
about.
live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed.
As we come on now, we have serious news of a major, very tragic event for you right now. Incredible plane crashed into the World Trade Center.
I just heard a loud boom.
One of the biggest cover-ups in U.S. history. Dude, that's so... Oh, by the way, I obviously love 9/11 conspiracies. For those of you who don't know, the uniqueness of 9/11 conspiracies is that, like, given that it was a Bush administration, a lot of the conspiracies are actually left-wing conspiracies or liberal conspiracies originally. That, you know, that kind of... That kind of turned into like right-wing conspiracies as enough time passed. And you have the basics like jet fuel can't melt steel beams. You have the Bush did 9/11s. And then you have like the really anti-Semitic ones, right? That like... But then you have the loose change shit. But then you also have like the very real questions that people have about 9/11 from, you know, what happened to Tower 7, why did it fall on its own, to why did American assets get to operate freely on U.S. soil and, like, quite literally have our agencies know before 9/11, that, like, a 9/11 style attack might happen on U.S. soil, and they did nothing about it. Which 9/11 conspiracies do you believe in? I mean, the 9/11 conspiracies I believe in are not necessarily conspiracies or conspiracy theories. It's more so, how do I describe it? The 9/11 conspiracy theories that I believe in aren't necessarily conspiracies. They're just like mostly just like the blowback of it all. Obviously, like our actions in the Middle East leading directly to 9/11. And not only that, but also the things I just mentioned, like the things I mentioned. For example, the FBI and the CIA had full knowledge. The Looming Tower, is it the Burning Tower or the Looming Tower? What's the book? It's based on a book. That one is it's the Looming Tower. Yeah, so the Looming Tower is a good that's a good they were on our radar moment that like very clearly describes why 9/11 as an attack had full knowledge, like that the American intelligence agencies had full knowledge of a 9/11 style attack, and the people that actually were doing 9/11 were, you know, American assets or worked under American assets, one of which was literally the OG 9/11 guy. The Blind Sheik and the connections to Blind Sheik and the people that worked under Blind Sheik, who was literally under CIA custody at that point. You know what I mean? Like, these guys were directly being controlled, or at least like were operating under the full knowledge of the FBI and the CIA. And if you want to give a more realist, more tame perspective on it, you say, well, there wasn't interagency communication. Like, that is what the official American our bad moment is. Like the classic, oh, we did know, or like this was on our radar, but there wasn't enough collaboration amongst FBI and the CIA, and that's how we kind of fucked it up, right? A classic blunder. So that is, which is a ridiculous thing to say, for the record. I don't think so. I don't believe that at all. I'm Saudi Arabian, and it's bad that the royals did that, but like the CIA 1000% let them. Yeah, no, exactly. That's identical to my perspective, which is that 9/11 happened under the watchful eye of the American intelligence communities, and then they moved very quickly to seize on that opportunity. They let 3,000 Americans die, and then they very quickly, like instantaneously, seized on the opportunity and enacted a war on terror that was infinitely more brutal than 9/11 times a million. And that they did this specifically to enact America's imperialist agenda, and we're still living in the post 9/11 world. And it wasn't necessarily just a thing that impacted the rest of the world in a negative way. It also hurt America in a negative way as well. It hurt Americans in a negative way. And the irony, of course, is that, so many Americans refuse to recognize that. They don't give a fuck. They don't understand it. They're too stupid to understand it. And I'm sick and tired of trying to describe it at this point. I've given up. I don't give a shit. Yeah, dude, you're right. It's the worst thing that's ever happened on the fucking planet. And America did everything righteous immediately after. So, that's it. I agree, but Bush cliques definitely expanded what those imperialist desires were going to be. Yes. Yes. Don't forget the greatest benefactors of the Iraq War was Halliburton, an oil company whose previous CEO was Dick Cheney. Yes. Some people say post 9/11 hate on Muslims will cause a Boston bombing. I mean, I won't speak on. I don't know if that's the case, but I mean, I'm certain that like the anti-Muslim sentiment didn't help, and it hasn't helped. And it was gross and terrifying for a very, very long time. The USA will never recover from the Islamophobia for sure. I mean, we've kind of moved past it. It's not as bad. Let me tell you something, okay? It was so much fucking worse 10 years ago. Like, it has gotten significantly better. The Islamophobia domestically has gotten infinitely better. You guys are crazy. Guys, Dr. Oz is a fucking Sunni Muslim who ran a Republican campaign in fucking red Pennsylvania. He lost, but the fact that the Republicans put a Sunni Muslim man to run as a senator, regardless of how fucking liberal he actually is, okay? The fact that they ran him as a candidate and plenty of hogs voted for him, and he only lost not because he's Muslim, but he lost because he was like too much of an out-of-touch elitist and going up against a guy who was a Pennsylvania native and had incredible ground game. But all of that aside, the fact that they ran him against John Fetterman is mind-boggling, okay? That's not a thing that could have ever happened 20 years ago. That's not a thing that could have happened 10 years ago. Please. There's no way a motherfucker named Barack would be president in the 2004 election. I'm surprised he even won in 2008. I mean, Barack Obama, despite Hillary Clinton's greatest attempts, was able to overcome the Muslim allegations early on. And he was incredibly charismatic and very progressive. And he was black. So him being black kind of overwrote him being possibly a Muslim thing. So more people were hyper-focused on him being black, so they didn't even think about how his middle name is Hussein. So that's it. But, I mean, it was still the fact that they still said he was Muslim. They said he was a Kenyan Muslim. He's not American, all the shit. But him being black was way more significant in the eyes of the broader American population than him possibly being Muslim. Because America is, first and foremost, a nation built on white supremacist fundamentals. And for that reason, when you have a black person become the president, everyone is going to care about the fact that that's a black person who's become the president. They don't even give a fuck. They're frothing out the mouth at the prospect of a black guy being president that they can't even comprehend other avenues. Okay? Anyway. But yeah, let's continue. So 9/11/2001 as it happened.
You did? Was it a plane? That's what I was thinking. It was a terrorist attack.
Immediately, there's speculation or cause for concern. This is the World Trade Center that was the center of a terrorist bombing some years ago. So the questions have to be asked, was this purely an accident or could this have been an intentional act? But either way, extensive damage.
What's this other jet doing? What's this other jet doing? Holy fuck!
I think my favorite 9/11 conspiracy has to be that, like, in spite of so much, like, documentation on the acts that transpired on this day, there are still motherfuckers who are like, it was a hologram. Like, I need to understand. I need to understand the mind of a human being that looks at this footage from, like, 1,000 different angles and still goes, nah, brother, it's a hologram. That's a real thing. There are people out there, guys, there are people out there who believe 9/11 was not real. It wasn't a real thing that happened. It was a hologram. Okay? I need to literally... I went to the 9/11 Museum and Memorial, and it was genuinely a touching and eye-opening experience. Definitely would recommend if you're in New York City. Sure. I mean... I think it's also very symbolic of America to just like build a fucking mall and in its stead. But anyway, yeah, they just have a big mall underneath a building. But anyway, but it was a hologram though. Price's actors fell from the tower. No, they're dummies, brother. They weren't real humans. They were fucking mannequins that they threw off the buildings.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Looks like 6, 7 floors were taken out. And there's more explosions right now. Hold on, people are running.
Hold on just a moment. We've got an explosion inside.
The building's exploding right now. You got people running up the street.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll tell you what's going on.
Right, oh my God, another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it. Explosion. My God, it's right in the middle of the building.
Pick your reader up from under your seat. Open your book.
They even had a whole entire section dedicated to the strike on Osama bin Laden. It's literally the entire CIA operation, even the downed helicopter from the Navy SEALs. Pepperonis, thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
Up to lesson 60 on page 150.
A classic. This is a classic. Look at his face. God, he was so fucking stupid, dude. Oh, God, I mean, looking back at it, this is a war criminal of the highest magnitude. Still worse than Donald Trump, by the way. I'll stand by that. Oha. But like now that we're 22 years removed from the death and destruction, even though the death and destruction still continues worldwide, it's like he's such a fucking idiot. Like he was in many ways the perfect guy to be president during 9/11. Because he was such a goofball, such a fucking dumb baboon, you know what I mean?
Mom, another plane just crashed into the other World Trade Center. Another plane hit a jumbo jet. I'm so scared. I'm leaving. No, I know. Don't, Megan. You can't. Bye. I love you. Megan. Mom, I'm in Carol. I'm getting up. Please wait for me.
We do have some videotape of the second plane, and you can see it there.
Where? I didn't see it. Oh, whoa.
Where were you when this happened? On a rooftop in New Jersey dancing. No, man, I was in fucking Turkey.
We're under attack.
Going into buildings.
From our vantage point, yeah, clearly difficult to tell.
We're under attack.
What type of plane that is, but it's a horrific scene.
That's
all right. We've just been told also, Michael, sorry, the New York Stock Exchange is being evacuated, as is, I'm sure, much of Wall Street, if not all of it, as much as possible. But the New York Stock Exchange has suspended trading for the moment.
It's war.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
Damn, they got the kids behind them too.
David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're looking at live pictures of the Pentagon where there is billowing smoke. Jim Miklashevsky just reported that he heard an explosion, and right now we're looking at an aerial view of the Pentagon.
There are reports that the Pentagon has been evacuated, and the White House is being evacuated. Clearly, you're seeing now these pictures from Washington, D.C.
All of the airports across the country have been shut down. All flights have been canceled for another 7 hours, which is about 5 o'clock Eastern time, and then we'll reignite there. We'll take a look what's going on after that. The probability of extension, as they call that, is high.
Why did they never mention the Pentagon? I think no one died. That's why, I'm pretty sure. Or did one like security guy die or something? I'm pretty sure no one died in the Pentagon. That's why. They did? I don't remember. Oh, wait, really? No, I thought that the Pentagon was like the part of the Pentagon they hit was not like super populated. Wait, hold on. Let's look at how many people died at the Pentagon. I don't want to fuck this up. I'm supposed to be the 9/11 Andy, but how many people died on 9/11? Yeah. Okay, no, not the total, man. I want to know how many motherfuckers died at the Pentagon, bro. God damn it. Hold on. 64 on the plane and 100 and 125 in the Pentagon. Oh, okay. I was wrong. It wasn't like, I mean, it was significantly less than the towers, obviously. But I think that's part of the reason why they were like, that's part of the reason why it doesn't get a lot of play. You know what I mean? Way off little. No, in comparison, first of all, Pentagon's still considered a DoD target. So in the eyes of the American population, they care more about, they obviously care more about like the heavily televised civilian population that's fucking dying in the financial area of Manhattan, okay, in comparison to like DoD people dying. It's just not like 150 people dying is nothing in comparison to the 3,000. That's why I'm saying I'm trying to rationalize why people don't talk about the Pentagon as much. Does that make sense? Because someone asked, why doesn't anybody ever talk about, holy shit, people wait for you to misspeak and ride your dick law? No, it's not. Like the main thing was the Twin Towers. That's why everyone was hyper-focused on the Twin Towers in comparison to the Pentagon, because the Pentagon is considered still like a DoD target. That's part of the reason why people don't consider it as much, because like it's symbolic. The people at the Pentagon signed up to serve. People in the Twin Towers didn't. Yeah, kind of. Not really. My friend's dad owned a convenience store in Southern California, was killed in cold blood in October 2001. They didn't even rob him. He was an Egyptian Christian like my family and I. Yeah. It also depends on where you are. I was in elementary school in the D.C. area, and we talk about it more here. I think overall it wasn't, like, the Pentagon aspect of it doesn't get mentioned nearly as much as, like, the Twin Towers. Like, the iconic symbolism of 9/11 is the burning Twin Towers. It's not like the Pentagon. Nobody gives a shit about it. Plus, it wasn't as televised as well. Like, there's camera footage of it, as you saw, like, the CCTV footage of it, but people don't really think about it as much. There's not as much footage of it. It's like an afterthought almost.
Me too.
What are you saying, Hasan? I'm talking about the way that people think about 9/11. They think about the Twin Towers. Rarely do they ever consider the Pentagon. I think it's pretty clear what I'm saying. What's going on? Are people not listening to what's going on? What's happening? Someone in the chat asked me why people don't think about the Pentagon as much when they think about 9/11, and I'm giving possible reasons as to why that may be the case.
One. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
You sound like you were happy dancing your ass off in Turkey. Yeah, dude. At 10 years old, I was like, wow. At 10 years old, I was like, wow, I love the fucking geopolitical implications of this. It's so sick. That's what I was doing as a 10-year-old. I was like, man, how sick is that? I love the death and destruction of permanent genocide in the first world. America KKK is getting destroyed. That's what I was saying at 10.
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me. Here
Bro, run.
I'm getting behind a car.
Anthony, you okay? Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Watch out, watch out.
They're looking for the Aki way. To the best of my knowledge, Hasan was a teen in Turkey by the time 9/11 happened. Bro, I was in Turkey and I was 10 years old, okay? 10. I was 10.
I'll tell you that I can't see that second tower, but there was a cascade of sparks and fire, and now it looks almost like a mushroom cloud explosion, this huge billowing smoke in the second tower. This was the second of the two towers hit.
Now this is what it looked like moments ago. My God.
People ask what should have been done about 9/11, and like my answer is probably going to piss people off, but I don't give a shit. If America did literally nothing, like genuinely nothing after 9/11, instead of the things that they did, it would be objectively better. Obviously, that's not the expectation, but what America did post 9/11 is so insanely fucked up, both internationally on a global spectrum, but also domestically with the Patriot Act, with the Department of Homeland Security, with ICE, and all these other like projects that America implemented that they had wanted to for a very long time, and saw 9/11 as like the perfect opportunity to like really kick America's like military state, America's surveillance state into high gear. Straight the fuck up. America, if they had done nothing after 9/11, it would have been literally better than the things that they did after 9/11. Okay? 20-year war, like endless fucking war, the American military industrial complex even exploding even more out of control. It's just so fucking bad. The right thing to do is dismantle the DOD. They were full on, you fuck with us and we're going to fuck up the world. I mean, I think that they just... You're talking about, like, I think the people on the ground. Like, the people, like, the American population and their genuine interest. Okay? And, yes, they were out for blood because America, geopolitically speaking, is very far away in proximity from every other country. America did not withstand any serious casualties on the mainland during World War II. That was actually a big part of the reason why the Marshall Plan worked so effectively. America had a major leg up post-World War II on Europe. You know what I mean? For those reasons, like because they were far away from the battle. So this was the first time since Pearl Harbor where U.S. soil was targeted by a foreign actor. And it was a major It was a major spiritual crisis. It created so much psychic damage in the hearts of Americans that were riding the wave. Pearl Harbor technically wasn't on U.S. soil. You're technically correct. You are right. But it does not matter. You're right. You're technically right. But like we view Hawaii now as a part of the United States, even though that predates it. You're not wrong. You are technically correct, but most people still see it as like an attack on America. Anyway, let's continue.
Airplane crash over on Lambertsville Road.
So just let Bin Laden live? What the fuck? I don't think you're understanding my point. What I'm trying to say is I'm not hearing it from you, bro. You don't let that happen without losing power. Well, you're a Turkish immigrant that doesn't understand what needed a response to it. First of all, sucks to suck, but in the eyes of the American Constitution, like, I am just as American as you are, you fucking piece of shit. You fucking baboon, okay? That's number one. Suck my American ass cock, okay? Nothing you can do about it. I could run for fucking president if I wanted to. Suck my dick. That's number one. Number two, okay? Anchor baby or not, still an American citizen. Sucks to suck. Suck my dick from the back. It's the American way, okay? It's the Aki way. That's number one. Number two, I'm not hearing it from you, bruh. Don't let that happen without losing power. Like, what are you talking about? Are you the American state? What good has the global war on terror done for you, you fucking idiot? Like, this is what I mean. It's like 22 years and these motherfuckers are they're still running this. They're like, what? We had to do something. It's like, yeah, I'm describing how fucking dumb people were at the time. And you are unironically behaving like that 22 years after the fact, which you probably weren't even fucking alive when it happened. Okay? So stupid. So just let Bin Laden live and do more harm? Are you dumb? First of all, once again, you're failing to understand the point I'm making, which is that what America did post 9/11 on Americans as well was significantly worse than what fucking Bin Laden could have ever fantasized about doing. Even if you think about it, 12,000 active duty people died, okay? Active duty service members have died in the course of the 22-year $8 trillion wars, okay? That's just Americans, by the way. This is before we factor in the millions that have died and the tens of millions that have been displaced and lives permanently changed. So the notion that, like, America did all the right things after 9/11 is such a fucking silly one, because we're living in the rubbles of, we're living in the ashes of what America did, the death and destruction, okay? It's so stupid. Also, maybe you should get a little bit more upset when you find out that even to this day, we're still arming Saudi Arabia and including Al-Qaeda in Yemen, for example. We're still giving guns and support to Al-Qaeda, okay? So shut the fuck up. God, Americans are so easily duped into just pushing whatever the fucking State Department wants. It's so stupid. Peak Ameribrain content for chat to get an understanding of where the American mind was in the immediate aftermath. Okay, we'll get to this in a second. Let me just finish this video and then we'll get to it.
And probably had a terrorist bomb on board that blew up. Don't know anything more than that. That's what I heard on the scanner. I just saw the smoke come up, and the explosion shook the house clear over here, and we are, what, 15 miles from Lambertsville.
In Washington, there is a large fire at the Pentagon. The Pentagon has been evacuated, and there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words. We have a report that a
As a Muslim, 9/11 always just reminds me of all the pain, torture, and havoc the West has wrought upon us, billions of brothers and sisters and MB since then. Yeah, it's just like, it's very, very, very difficult for me to see this as anything but like a group of fucking freaks that America funded, facilitated, armed, helped out, attacking America, and then America turning around and making that everyone else's problem. Like literally everyone else's problem. People that had no say in the matter, people that were duking it out with said factions in that fucking region, having to experience it from both ends, both from the fundamentalists that Americans had armed and and defended, offered logistic support to, and then also America itself and its fucking military machine. It is so fucking annoying. It is so fucking frustrating. It is such bullshit. It's just, that's why I have this callous indifference to the bloodshed that occurred, because I do not place the value of one group of individuals over the other, even though this is an atrocity. Even though this is obviously an atrocity, okay? Because these people did not deserve to fucking die. These are innocent civilians. Like, what the fuck? They didn't do this. They don't have any say, okay, in the process. What America did afterwards is so fucking devastating that it's impossible for me to look away from that. That's just it.
747 is down in Pennsylvania, and that remains unconfirmed at this point, and so we will check on that.
So anyway, we're gonna move on from this, and we're gonna talk to our friend of the show, Johnny Harris, because he made a video about how 9/11 was used to sell a war. Now, do I believe that Johnny Harris will get into the nitty-gritty of the actual lead up to 9/11? Probably not, because some of those are still in the this is a conspiracy theory territory. Maybe he will. Who knows? But Johnny Harris probably has an anti-Iraq war, anti-Afghan war, possibly anti-Iraq war, maybe not an anti-Afghanistan war take on it, because he always is like, he always has this perspective. He always has this like, this was a bad war. It was not justified. So let's cover that type of attitude, as I've talked about time and time again. But this time, this is different. Lots of libs are pro-Afghan invasion. Yeah, I know. Actually, you know what? Before we get into how the CIA sold 9/11, let's talk about Donald Trump and how he received 9/11, which I actually covered on my article. I said politicians who act not to politicize tragedies often are the ones who politicize tragedies to benefit themselves. Just look at the consequences of 9/11 and American imperialism. On this day, September 11th, while we remember one of the U.S.'s greatest tragedies, it's important to note the silver lining. Close to 3,000 Americans died on 9/11, but on the bright side, at least Trump Tower on 40 Wall Street became the tallest in Manhattan once again, even though it was built after the World Trade Center.
Tallest building. Well, it was an amazing phone call I made. 40 Wall Street actually was the second tallest building.
He's saying he was making an amazing phone call. This is on 9/11, 2001. Okay? This man is was the president. Like, he became the president. Like, this man on 9/11, the day of, is like, is bragging about how his tower now is the tallest tower in Manhattan and Wall
and it was
Street.
Actually, before the World Trade Center was the tallest. And then when they built the World Trade Center, it became known as the second tallest, and now it's the tallest.
He took $150,000 from a taxpayer-funded grant for small business recovery. During the election, he found another way to benefit from 9/11, where he lied about how Muslims were dancing on the rooftops.
I watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering as that building was coming down. Thousands of people were cheering.
Yeah, thousands of people were cheering on rooftops, saying at the top of the hour there is a 3-minute ad break, folks. But they were cheering because they were subscribed for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, believe me. That's right. This chat deserved the top of the hour ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, just like the rest of the chatters who were dancing on the rooftops. It's true. A perfect segue, many are calling. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. I didn't know that there were so many fucking anti-Adam McKayers in the chat. Let's continue. So here's another Donald Trump moment. He was live on the phone. This I haven't even seen before as well. Little Bear found this.
If you know anything about structure, it's camp structure, and
bombs or aftershocks. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it was an architectural defect. You know, the World Trade Center was always known as a very, very strong building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation, and it withstood that. And I got to see that area about 3 or 4 days after it took place because one of my structural engineers actually took me for a tour because he did the building. And I said, I can't believe it. The building was standing solid and half.
He's talking about the first bombing of the World Trade Center, which happened in like 93, I think, or 92. That's what he's talking about here.
Half of the columns were blown out. I mean, so this was an unbelievably powerful building. If you know anything about structure, it was one of the first buildings that was built from the outside. The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows, you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams. When I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through the steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have, and it was almost just like a can of soup.
You know, Donald, we were looking at pictures all morning long of that plane coming into building number 2, and when you see that approach the far side, and then all of a sudden, within a matter of a millisecond, the explosion pops out the other side.
Right. I just think that it was a plane with more than just fuel. I think, obviously, they were very big planes. They were going very rapidly because I was also watching where the plane seemed to be not only going fast, it seemed to be coming down into the building. So it was getting the speed from going downhill, so to speak. It just seemed to me that to do that kind of destruction is even more than a big plane, because you're talking about taking out steel, the heaviest caliber steel that was used on a building. I mean, these buildings were rock solid. And, you know, it's just an amazing thing. This country is different today, and it's going to be different than it ever was for many years to come.
Very profound statement and very true.
Donald, one last question for you. Given the magnitude of how much of American commerce took place within the Twin Towers, what do you, as you're an expert on this, what do you think is going to be the fallout over the next several weeks, months, and even years, given what we have lost in terms of those buildings going down and all that was within it?
Well, I, as an example, Alan, and you might use them too, but I have an insurance company that was on the 102nd floor of the World Trade Center. They're gone. I don't know who's gone. I don't know anything other than their offices are no longer there. They're wiped out. The Morgan Stanley Group, you know, Morgan Stanley, a big, powerful firm, they had 50 stories in the building, gone. I mean, you're talking about some firms that are just gone. Now, Morgan Stanley, in that case, had a lot of its offices in Midtown, and they had about half downtown. Morgan Stanley's a big, powerful firm. They're gone. Many firms had all of their offices, as you know, in the World Trade Center. It was 8 million square feet. 8 million square feet is the size of some cities. And we had 8 million square feet in the world, 4 million in each building. They were huge buildings, not only in height, but, you know, each floor was 50,000 feet. They were...
Anyway, it's interesting. I mean, it's like this is happening right on that moment. So it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. He's just like basically speculating. Gunter Fellinger says, is there any speculation of KGB helping Osama bin Laden 9/11 as a part of Putin's revenge campaign against the West, dismantling his beloved Soviet Union?